Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce myself. I'm AL-ADAWIA from Class C English Education 2019. And now I will discuss the first material until the second meeting. The first material, the origin of ESP. The origin of ESP is language that has a specific purpose in accordance with this file, which has the aim of being able to master the language specifically according to its needs. As for the origin of ESP, the demands of the new world are broad. The effect is to create new mass of people who want to learn English, and the second, revolution in linguistics, created by certain groups of students and can be identified by analyzing linguistics. So the origin of ESP has a special purpose in accordance with the needs of the field of science and the provision of using language which aim to make a group or individual able to master English in the field of science as a discipline. The second material, the development of ESP. The Basel Shams, nice and came a platform. These early beginnings in the 1816 ESP has undergone the main phase of development starting to emerge. ESP has development different paths in different countries. An example of other approach we shall describe can be found operating somewhere in the world at the present time. In ways of analyzing language in the period of actual teaching materials. The first, the concept of spatial language register analysis. This take occurred in the 1816 and early 1870s and associated in particular with the work of Father Stephens, Chuck Ewart, and John Wallace. The second, beyond the sentence rhetorical of discourse analysis. There are, as we shall, serious flaws in the register analysis based syllabus, but it happens register analysis as our research product is rapid being overtaken by development in the world of linguistics. The third, target situation analysis. The stage where consider now doesn't really add anything new to his surface of the linguistic feature of the target situation. The last, learning concept approach. In outlining the origin of ESP, we identify the strength we are might characterize as new ideas about language, and new ideas about language, and new idea about learning. The next material, the description of language. In ESP, it is necessary to use explicit or implied ideas about the nature of language. These ideas are drawn from various descriptions of language which have been developed by successful schools of linguistic thought. There are several ways in which there are major stages of development. The first, classical or traditional grammar. Description of English and other languages based on the grammar of classical Greek and Latin language are described in this way because classical language are case-based language where the grammatical function of each word in a sentence is made clear by the use of appropriate intention. The next, structural linguistics. In the structural description, grammar is described in the form of a syntagmatic structure. The third, generative transformational grammar. The structural view of language is a collection of syntagmatic patterns was held until the publication of syntactic structure by Noam Chomsky. Number 4, language variation and register analysis. In both texts describing the same job of drilling holes in metal workpiece, in a transcript of a videotape demonstration using a TLED. Thus, function or national grammar. The second major branch of 4 in language is communication. The effect ESP is the functional or national concept of description of language. Function relating to social behavior and representing the speaker's right, intention, advising, warning, threatening, and describing. So, in the description of language is the description of object, thing, or event. In the description of language, it is so disseminate the result or research language thinking. Material learning theory. In the development of language, learning is conditioned by the way the mind observes, organizes, and stores information. In other words, the success of language learning and teaching does not in analyzing the nature of language, but in understanding the structure or process of the mind. And then, as for the part of learning theory, the first, learning behaviors as habit formation. The first, coherent learning theory is a behaviorist-based theory. This simple but powerful theory says that learning is a mechanical process of habit formation and takes place through repeat reinforcement of the stimulus-response sequence. The simplicity and directness of this theory have a profound impact on the psychology of learning and teaching. Number 2, methodism of thinking is an activity governed by rules. So must be governed by rules, finite set of rules and small enough to allow the mind to deal with the potential limits, variety of experience that may be before it. Next, cognitive code of learners as thinking creator. In cognitive theory, the learner considered is an active information process. The learning is an activity trying to make sense of the data, and learning can be said to have occurred when the learner has success in applying some kind of meaningful interpretation or pattern to the data. Next, affective factor of students as emotional beings. The most influential motivation in language learning is the study of bilingualism by Arnold and Lambert in Canada, who speak French. They identify two forms of motivation, namely instrumental and integrative. And instrumental Internal motivation is a reflection of external needs. Next, learning and acquisition. The learning is done by students when they listen to lecture or audio, read books or website. Learning is seen as a conscious process where acquisition takes place unconsciously. And the last, learning models of individual knowledge. Items such as words have little meaning of their own. They only acquire meaning and use when they are connected to the exciting knowledge network. So, in learning theory, in there are procedures for applying teaching and learning activities between teacher and student as for the various learning theories, namely behaviorist, cognitive, humanistic, and constructive learning theories, which serves as guide and source of stimulus for research and scientific thinking. Material needs analysis. Need analysis is an effective way to identify problems that arise in a lesson, especially in the second or in the signing learning that is not to occur as for the purpose of using needs analysis and learning assistance. The first, target needs. Target needs that in practice hide a number of important differences, and it is more useful to see the target situation in terms of needs and wants. The second, learning needs. Analysis of the target situation can determine of destination. It can also compass on the way to provide general direction, but we have to choose the said route according to the available grades. And thus, analysis learning needs. To analyze learning needs, we can use a checklist similar to that used for target situation analysis. So, the needs analysis is a way or method to find out the difference between the desired and supposed condition. With the existing condition, the needs analysis is made to be able to measure the level of gaps that occur in student learning. The last, material approaches to course design. In course design is the process by which that about learning needs are interpreted to produce an integrated teaching and learning experience. Learning observation that aims to direct the learner to particular state of knowledge. This language-centered course design is the simple course design process and perhaps the most familiar to teachers. A learning-centered approach. This approach is based on the principle that learning is determined by the learner. Language-centered approach. This is the nature of the target situation, performance, and that will define the course ESP. There are two implications. The first, negotiate course design process. This learning target situation will affect the nature of the material, syllabus, methodology, and evaluation producer. The second, the course design is a dynamic process. It does not move scientifically from the initial analysis to the complete course. The needs and research vary with time. So needs analysis refers the ESP learners need English in order to be able to read text in their subject specialization. And in this course design approach is centered on language skill and learning.